You said you had 300 cousins?
Yes, 322.
Wow. That's quite a few cousins. So do you keep a registry? How do you remember all their names? Or you don't need to remember their names?
No, I can't remember all their names. And the other thing is, after my diploma, I went to South Africa. I got an award to go present in a conference related to agriculture. And in that conference, a lady from Brazil, Sao Paulo University, asked me, "You are a doctor in which field?" I actually literally shed tears because I only had a diploma.
You are listening to NIMDA Talk.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to come your way again. Happy New Year. It's been a while, but I'm really excited to to be with you today. We have a guest joining us all the way from Kenya, and I'm really looking forward to the conversation with him. I think he has a very interesting story that he would want to share with us. I would invite him to introduce himself and then we'll get the conversation going. Hello, my friend. Who do we have here today?
I'm happy to be here. This is none other than Kenneth Monjero from eastern part of Africa, basically from Kenya, based in Nairobi, Kenya, working with various science sector in the country and science communication.
Thank you very much, Kenneth. It's a pleasure to have you today. How is Kenya? How is Nairobi? How are things in Nairobi?
Yeah, Nairobi is lovely, although some parts of the world are experiencing winter and all that. We are here having hot days and we're doing well. We're really settled. We're a nice country and more so for tourism.
Oh, good, good. And you did talk to us a little bit about what you do. Can you talk about your background a little bit? Where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? And how did your career evolve? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
That's a wonderful question to talk about my pathway. I love talking about my pathway on how I grew to become what I am and more so what I'm aspiring to become because it's still growing in profession. And this also helps in mentoring young people into the career. So I grew up in the western part of Kenya, in a very remote area, an area that I would really say most people drink alcohol, and not just alcohol, the real alcohol that you just take a little bit and you're down.
Okay.
So everyone was really in alcohol. I don't mean I'm an alcoholic person, but I emerged out of that community. I have a big family. I have 322 cousins. I have 37 aunties. I have 21 uncles. And you can imagine of that big community, no one really went to high school.
Wow.
Everyone was in a remote area. And that's where I went to school. And out of all the pressure that was there, no money and all that, I managed to make it to high school. And now I will talk about the other development later, but I would say I'm really proud that I made it, and not only me, but I'm now bringing the whole community to make it in education and in a good life.
Thank you, Kenneth. You said you had 300 cousins?
Yes, 322.
Wow. That's quite a few cousins. So do you keep a registry? How do you remember all their names? Or you don't need to remember their names?
No, I can't remember all their names because it's a big, and that's what I'm saying. Like my grandfather had 5 wives, and my grandfather from my mom's side, paternal, had also 3 wives, and each one of them had over 8 children. So you can see, yeah, it's a big family.
That's a big family. And so how did you manage to get to school? Was it that your parents were really vested in your education, or how did the decision to how did you get the opportunity to go to school?
Yeah, so one, I would say my parents were very much willing, but despite that, there were no resources to take me to school. And I would say the only thing that gave me light is I became a Christian, and I looked at how the community was toiling in the problems in alcoholism and all that, and I said no to it, and I met a pastor who held my hand, and that's the only thing that made me to make it to complete high school.
Oh, so your faith became a very important part of your evolution as a person. When you
Yes.
went to high school, what informed your choice of courses? Did you go into, at least when I was growing up in Ghana, most of the very smart kids would go into medicine and business administration, all the fancy courses. What informed your choice? First of all, were you a very smart student or were you an average Joe like me?
Yeah, one is I was an average student, and of
Okay.
course the school was under-resourced school.
Okay.
So I would say even if I didn't perform that well to join university, I was the second position in the whole class which I was in. So which means most of them were really way below average. And what informed me to really go for education, I was always wondering why we have land and we don't have food. So I really wanted to know, can education help me know how to do agriculture, and not just agriculture, but agriculture for food and for money? So I really strived to keep going and also to excel in sciences, because my idea was agriculture is a science, and how can I help my community to live a better life, to get off alcohol, to have food on table. Yeah.
Good. I sensed a very deep connection to community in our dialogue. I feel, and from what you are saying, you are a person who is deeply connected to the community. And you made a point about land and food. I think that's a very interesting connection. So how did that appreciation for land and food inform your choice of courses? Where did you go to university, and what did you end up doing at your university?
Yes, so one is I realized that determination is key to success, and the way I said, through my spiritual background, having faith and gives determination to the pathway that you want to achieve. And I wanted to make it in such a way that I can have a better life and influence the society, the community. So I finished my high school education, and after that, I went to the university. I mean, not university direct, because I did not score marks that were worth entry to the university, where the government gives you a loan and you can go to the university. So I went to a polytechnic and did a diploma in applied biology, because that was the option that was there. And I knew if it's applied biology, then it's application of biology. So I'll know how to apply issues of crop production and all that. So I had to work like in the night as a guard, as well as go to school in daytime and cycle. I bought a bicycle, so I used to cycle for over 18 kilometers per day to and fro. So it wasn't easy, but I made it. And I went also now to after that I got to go to university and do degree and second degree. And that's how I got actually my way into deep science and more so crop production or crop-related science.
Good. So you were biking 18 kilometers. Was it every day?
Yes, every day for 3 years.
Wow. When doing your bike rides, what were you thinking about? How was, I think that's a lot of biking. You must be a very strong and healthy man.
Yeah, I think that went beyond just healthy, because I didn't have much money to to even buy food. but I would say it became a norm because now I developed my muscles and all that. And I accepted the situation because I knew after biking, I will drive. So it really gave me a determination all the way.
Right. So the motivation was that after biking, you were going to drive. I think that's a very, very inspirational story for most people who might even be more privileged than you were. So what did you do after your university education? Did you go back into your community? Did you do any postgraduate work? How did that transition from your first degree to other work that's in terms of school? How did that transition work?
So what I would say is after achieving my diploma, before even first degree, I got to an institution that is known as Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization. And now that was the best avenue for me to gain more skills on crop or food production, generally looking at crops and also looking at livestock. So as I practiced that, I was already starting to practice it back in my home. So now we were able to do farming, we were able to develop my composting and all that as I was still working. And I would say now the job that I got helped me to get money and go on parallel programs to get now degree and even to go for postgraduate studies. By that time, I had started even supporting some of my relatives within the community to really bring change within the community. Yeah, so that's how I went, yes.
So essentially you self-finance your own education through your agricultural and production activities.
I would say so, but despite that, I had quite a number of support from the church, that's one, or church members. And the other thing is after my diploma, I went to South Africa. I got an award to go present in a conference related to agriculture. And in that conference, a lady from Brazil, Sao Paulo University, asked me, "You are a doctor in which field?" I actually literally shed tears because I only had a diploma. So later on, she really comforted me, consoled me, and said, "Okay, let's talk over a cup of tea." And she really actually supported me by giving me 1,000 USD cash money. I carried the money from South Africa, came, and that's what was seed money to join a degree program in Kenya.
Wow, that's an amazing story. I'm sure the $1,000 gift was probably the largest single donation you had received in your life at that point. Is that correct?
Yes. I was shaking everywhere because I had never carried such kind of money.
Wow.
So, but I managed because I remember when I was in South Africa, I had actually to literally take, one part of my cloth and, make a real patch and seal the money in, and fly all the way to Kenya. And I went directly looking for the course to do so, because she told me, "Go, you are bright, go to school."
Right. And Kenneth, you are not alone in this, because I remember the first time I got a visa to study abroad, that night I couldn't sleep. I kept my passport in a bag, in another bag, like in 3 bags, and I kept checking it every night just to make sure the passport is there. That's a very interesting story.
Yeah, it happens to everyone. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. And so, in terms of your graduate work, did you do that in Kenya? Did you have other opportunities to go overseas? And can you briefly tell us how those opportunities or those training experiences impacted you?
Yeah, so what I would say is I've actually done most of my studies in Kenya and also across the border. Okay. So I've joined around 4 universities here in Kenya, doing my studies, as well as that advanced my studies to also see what because after being competent enough in research and development, and looking at community empowerment, I got also to add my profile to know other skills across the globe. And also, the other thing is, I would say I've studied in Kenya, in South Africa, in Australia, in the US, and in the UK. Yes.
Okay. Well, thanks. And how were those experiences? Is there anything in particular in one of those training sessions that you would recall, or is there anything that stood out for you in all like going to all those places and training or studying? Is there any story that you would remember that you want to share with us?
Yeah, what I would say is to bring change on the within local communities. It has really given me a lot of insights. Not only like the way I told you, I came from a very remote area to an urban area, but I have now had an experience in the, even one of the best universities in Kenya. And not only that, I've also gone to advanced, labs or universities across the world. That's like Cornell University, Australian National University, Northwest or Stellenbosch University in South Africa and such. And it's given me an experience, an overall experience from the remote, institutions to the high-profile institutions in regards to addressing, food security, addressing issues of communication and such. So I really got better placed to change the community, not only using the old gone methods, but really to adopt current methods of food security, addressing food security.
Oh, good. And I know that most of the things I have seen online about you and about your work relates to a foundation that you have you started, that you are actively involved in, that is on a very daily basis changing people and changing the lives of our future generation. Do you want to talk to us about that foundation, what inspired you, and what you do in what some of your activities are? Can you talk to us a little bit about that amazing work that you are doing in Kenya?
I highly appreciate, especially when it comes to the institutions or foundations that are geared towards improving lives. I started or founded an organization that's known as Fun and Education Global Network. So Fun and Education Global Network, its mandate is how can we bring learners together across the globe to learn with each other and to do projects to solve issues, whether local or global issues, or local issues adding up to global strategy of mitigation of various issues like climate change, food security, pollution, and all those kind of parameters. And I would say it takes science communication because one is, as I told you, my background was in molecular science, but I realized how can we make the public, who are majority and consumers of technologies that we are developing, how can we bring them to speed to appreciate what science can do? And that's how I plunged into science communication and now started the Fun and Education Global Network. And my main target is learners as early as possible, like grade 1, 2, 3, and all that, primary and high school. That's basic education, yes.
And how did you choose the name Fun? I mean, I know you sound like a terrific fun guy, but how did you, of all the names in the world you could pick, why did you choose the name Fun?
Yeah, that the name Fun came from my name, which I was given while in a Montessori school at New York.
Okay.
Because I used to do science shows, perform science shows in classes and all that during evening hours or my free time. And learners were not able to get my name, like Monjero. So whenever they wanted, they saw me, they said, "Oh, Fun." And then they say, "That doctor who is Fun." And then it became Dr. Fun. So it really attracts everyone's attention to say, we are demystifying or simplifying or how can we engage learners to have fun, attracted, and then engaged in the deep learning of what the fun is all about. So that's how I thought, why don't we have fun Everyone come
Right.
and have fun. And whilst
Right.
you are having fun, then there is education. It's not just fun. And when you're having education, then you are being empowered to solve or address issues that we need to solve.
Right. And Kenneth, what of all the things that you could do, and I mean that I think really listening to your story, there could be a million and one things that you can really do. What really motivated you to do this amazing project? Is it a deep sense of care for children? Are you what really I want to understand the motivation for choosing to do this, making science education fun and open to children as early as grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. Why did you choose to do it?
Yeah, I really went into reading on development, our development from
Mm-hmm.
childhood. And a child, when they're still young, they really become who, what we are seeing in the future or in the teens or in the youth is already what they picked when they were young and how they were nurtured when they were young. So my belief, or actually this is a fact, not just a belief, the fact is once you engage these learners as early as possible, this child as early as possible, then you actually form them to become what they need to become in terms of careers and development in the right way. So, even in the Kenyan government, we are talking about uptake of science being very, very low, science careers and all
Mm-hmm.
that. We are having so many questions about science as a field that everyone poses questions to the field, other than any other field. I've never had a person asking, why do we have this car is
Mm-hmm.
moving at this speed and all that, and yet vehicles are killing people even along the road. So
Mm-hmm.
why is it that it's only science that is questioned and all that? So I realized that the best way to solve this puzzle of why people are shying away from science, saying it's difficult and all that, is by engaging them early enough to understand that even in their day in, day out life, they're actually employing or deploying scientific skills. They're deploying principles of science.
Wow. I can sense your deep passion for the work you do and for the activities. To a lesser extent, I had the opportunity to teach kids soccer. I really enjoyed that whole opportunity. And there are days that you go to train these kids that something happens that stays with you for a very long time. And looking at the time that you spend with children of different ages and I'm sure from different backgrounds, is there a story that brings you that fulfillment? Is there something that happened or from any of your experiences with the children that made you feel that this particular venture is really worthwhile? Can you share something you remember with us?
Yes, that's really what drives me when
Mm,
I see the impact, because I can't be happy to do anything unless otherwise it's impactful and more so positive towards what everyone needs to see. So whenever I go to a class, I always have done like a visit to schools,
mhm,
and I go to a class, especially a science class,
mhm,
and the teacher teaches at the front there, and everyone is quiet. Others are looking their own ways, others are bored or such, in the meaning that they are serious with science. So and then when I go do my science lesson in the same class, everyone is very attentive. That's one. Number two is everyone is very, like, the happiness that you can see by the facial expression is just so amazing. And then none of them wants the lesson to end. So that you can imagine running a science lesson and no one wants that lesson to end. That should, if you tell students that, they would say, no, that's not on earth. But actually, it happens with such kind of a science with fun approach. And the
right,
other thing is
mhm,
the inquisitiveness,
mhm.
that learners ask, because you have raised their curiosity until they ask questions without ending. You have to postpone the session again and again and again.
Thank you. Thank you for igniting the curiosity of these children. And based on the work that you have done, how many children have you had opportunity to interact with through your workshops?
Oh, yeah, that's a big question,
Mhm.
because you can imagine, on average per week I reach out to not less than 500 learners.
Wow.
So, so if we are talking about, since the time I started interacting with the learners, that was in 2015, through the Science Center, and then now the past 2 years through Fun and Education Global Network. And despite COVID having been here, we have had such an amazing, in fact, we've reached to more learners during COVID time.
Wow, thank you. So, how do you engage them? Are you still riding your bicycle? Is it still the 18-kilometer bike ride, or how have you been how have you been engaging with them? What's the logistics of some of the work that you do?
Okay, so what we have is, mostly we reach out to schools,
Hmm.
because we realize, even when I was in the States, I was looking at science centers and science museums and all that. I appreciated that and came and founded the first science center here in Kenya. And we realized that most schools that reach to us, is just a very small fraction of learners from the same school that come to us. And it's normally only from the high end schools. So we realize that outreach is the best approach to engage more learners, and more so to minimize on the time, that because we don't want them to, the curriculum is there. So the time that they have to go out to the field is quite short. So when we go to a school, we drive, to even, under-resourced schools and all that. We are still using even my own car, but we are looking in future to get, if we get, a donor who can give us a van or a mobile bus or such, and then we can have several vans going to serving several counties, because we have 47 counties, and every child will be reached to, because we need equity in education or in the experience of what we do. So I don't think, I don't mean that I'm not riding a bicycle, because now I do sometimes, but I'm actually driving, and I'm really happy. I'm proudly on the road and impacting on these children also to change their attitudes.
And that's consistent with your goal when you were much younger, that you were biking to drive, and come to think of it.
Yes,
So that's very nice of you. You have had opportunity to interact with children, 500, so like thousands of children since the start of Fun Global Education Network. When you look into the eyes of these children, mostly African children, what do you see in terms of the future of the continent? Are you hopeful? What do you see? You have been at the forefront interfacing with children on a daily basis. What do you see when you look at the future of the continent?
Yeah, what I would say is, if we give these children this approach,
Mm.
of course, we are not in working in isolation. We are working with other partners and other players, but we've really seen high hope for a better future. One is, we have learners who have come up with amazing innovations,
Mm.
because once we have attracted them and they are curious, and that curiosity being raised, they really plunge into projects and addressing issues, local issues. So we've seen lots of innovation, and even this year we've launched now what we call SciFest Kenya, Science Festival Kenya, and we want to team up with other organizations to look at innovations that these learners are submitting, and now give to the industry to scale up those innovations. So Africa has the best future ever that you can think of, only if we tap in our younger. Africa comprises its highest population is the younger people. So if
Right.
these younger people are given the right approach, if they are given an opportunity to change the world, it starts now.
Good. What does the future hold for you when you close your eyes at night? What do you see? What does the future hold for you and for the FAN Global Education Global Network? What do you see for the future?
Yeah, one is I see a village in the future. What I'm looking at in future, I'm not seeing the various continents in isolation. I'm seeing the whole world becoming a village. Becoming a village means I'm looking at the policy frameworks spreading across and similarity in the law regime and education, hands-on skills and all that. And I'm also seeing funded education lighting everywhere, because what we are looking at is how can we have learners connecting with other learners without the bureaucracy of no, we have you cannot expose learners' photos and whatever. We're looking at learners benefiting from each other, learning from each other, and interacting for the betterment of the world, Mother Earth. So I'm really looking at that kind of open, borders for resources, for partnership, for empowerment and all that. So that's what I'm really looking at. Yeah.
That's a very bold global vision that is consistent with your organization and spreading education, spreading development across the world. Now, what do you have to say? This will be my final question to you. I'm actually now just like one of those children you teach because I'm very curious, but I know I have to let you go to sleep. It's getting late in Kenya. So when let's say we have somebody maybe with a very similar background as you who is not very fortunate in terms of his upbringing and family, and there's not a lot of money for them to go to school or get all their bills paid, and maybe the person is disheartened. And what can you, looking at your own life in a very lived experiential way, what can you tell that person, that young person who may be listening to us right now? What can you tell them?
Yeah, what I would say is to a person who came up from a background that is quite compromised, as far as you are able to think, you are able to, you have that human ability, you are breathing, you are alive, the change begins with you. So the first thing is your mind, your attitude, changing your attitude from the cocoon of we can't to the space of yes, I can. That is the start point. Number two is change is not always about money. The little resources that we have can bring us to make a very big impact and very big change. I remember I started with no money, but I used the little I had, and with the determination that I had, the change came. The other thing that I would say, even for people with money, I don't use a lot of money. I actually try to shy away from big monies, because with small money, I can do a big project. And, I was even telling my colleagues, I wish everyone across the world would give me only $1. You might not feel the pain of donating $1, but with $1, in fact, that's why I started a movement and said, change the world by $1. And I know there's a lot of issues that come in, corruption and all that, but given $1, I can change the learner or the child, and changing the child is actually changing the world for to be a better place. So all these struggles we're doing, and with the institutions and all that, it's good, but let's focus on empowering the child and the young people to bring about change.
Oh, thank you very much. I couldn't have said it better. And are the people in your village still drinking heavily, or has that changed over time?
Yeah, it's changed over time. Even those who are drinking have food, so they don't die of liver problems and all that. They eat food and they go drink. So I would say my communities were among the best, because I've not stopped them from drinking, all of them. But the thing is, there's plenty of food, so they are living a good health, inclusive of their alcohol.
right. Thank you so much, Kenneth. It's been a really fun time talking to you. I've learned a lot from your life story. I've learned a lot from particularly your passion for the African child. And I think it's very, very clear that we can do so much with so little. So thank you for sharing your time with us. I'm sure we'll chat again at some point in the future.
Thank you. I highly appreciate. Let's work together, and I would say together we can.
All right.
You are
Thank you very
listening to
much, Ken,
NIMDA
and we'll
Talk.
talk again.